Donald Trump is more popular now than ever before. Hello everybody, welcome to Politics Enhanced, and thank you all so much for clicking on today's video. Today we're going to talk about Donald Trump's popularity, specifically his favorable and unfavorable ratings, and how this could affect his next term in the White House, and more specifically, how this also could affect his policy, and just what it means all around. So let's get started, folks. But as you can see, Donald Trump has taken the lead in his favorability versus his unfavorability. And no, this isn't an approval rating, but if you look down below, all throughout his time in politics, going back to 2015 when he came down the escalator, going on through the 2016 campaign up until he won in 2016, his approval rating or favorability rating was close to being a net positive, but it still was 4 points underwater. Then you had his presidency where it went down to the high 30s, low 40s, so on and so forth. Then you had January 2021, Biden was sworn in, his favorability tanked, and then it slowly went up again. Even in mid-2022, it was almost a net positive. This was during the investigations. Then you had more investigations over the summer of 2022. And then you had Donald Trump announce his candidacy for a third time, and his favorabilities went down. I don't think a lot of people thought he was electable then. His favorabilities remained pretty stagnant. And then in 2024, they slowly began to climb. And as you can see, after the debate and the assassination attempt, his favorabilities shot through the roof. Before the election, he was sitting at about 46%. And then after, he shot up, and now he's at 49%. So first of all, this is very impressive because, again, we haven't seen Trump have a positive favorability ever during his time in politics. But why has this exactly happened? Well, you could argue that Americans are excited and that Donald Trump really was the change candidate that people were looking for. Because if you look now, I know this is Twitter and Twitter isn't everything, but even if you look at the Hispanic voters, the trend, we see that Republicans gained by over 7% and Democrats lost by over 14%. Another poll shows that most Americans support the creation of DOGE, which is a government efficiency agency. It's going to investigate governmental agencies and how productive they are. So Donald Trump ran on a message of change. He ran on a message of hope and bringing back the good times for Americans and stopping Biden's agenda. And that proved to be very popular with the electorate. And it's not just me that's saying this, because most Americans actually approve of his presidential transition. Now, what this means is that a lot of people approve of the way that Donald Trump is handling himself. They approve of how he is moving gracefully. He met with Biden. He's meeting with political leaders. And in addition to that, Donald Trump is also appointing some moderate Democrats to his cabinet. You've got Kennedy, you've got Tulsi Gabbard. He has a very good cabinet coming up too, and I think that really excites a lot of Americans because we're getting a very good insight into what Donald Trump's second term will look like. And I think you're going to see a very different Trump. The reason why I say this is Trump is different this time around. Literally, he's been through the system. He's been through the swamp, quote unquote. He knows what to expect. He knows what's coming his way. And I think Trump is more organized this time. In addition to that, I also believe he has a better cabinet. His cabinet picks have been fantastic, and most voters, in fact half of voters, have a favorable view of not only Trump but also his cabinet. Another poll came out. But all in all, Donald Trump is popular. People are excited for his administration that's incoming, and I think this translates into the mandate that people have been talking about, because if you look at the 2024 election, as you can see, Trump won. And he won convincingly. It was not a close election at all. He won all the swing states. He won the popular vote. Republicans won the House. They've won the Senate and even flipped Pennsylvania. He's got the Supreme Court. Trump has everything he needs to get his agenda done. You could say that this was a rebuke of the Democrats, but I think it's deeper than that. I think this is people wanting change. This is people wanting something different. This is people who are tired of the status quo. And they elected Donald Trump because he ran on the same message he ran on in 2016. And I think you're seeing a cultural shift in America. You're seeing people waking up to the fact that all of these radical liberal ideas are just not popular with the American people. And people want to go back. They want to go back to what they had before COVID. And they elected Donald Trump. Now, you could also say that, well, there was lower turnout and blah, 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 and perhaps that all of that is true, but Trump won the Electoral College and he won the popular vote convincingly. And we see that it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a small victory like it was in 2016. This was a majority of the country standing behind Trump. And his favorabilities just keep going up. He's already at plus 6%, which puts him at 51 to 45. And that's not even considering the people who haven't been polled, the unlikely voter. His favorability could be much higher. It could be plus 10, but we'll never know. And when you start talking about policies, again, a lot of Americans support most of Trump's policies. And I'm not talking about Project 2025 because I don't think Trump is going to actually implement that in his administration. But you do see Americans approving of the job and the ideas that President Trump has brought forward. And I do think that this will translate into more success and possibly even more positive approval ratings his second term. The reason why I say this is his favorables are high. Yes, it's the honeymoon period, and no, he hasn't taken office yet, but he does have that mandate. You do see people coming behind him. I remember seeing Mark Cuban congratulating Trump after he won the election. And you don't see Democrats really protesting and disputing the results like they did back in 2016. Now, you'll always have some of that, of course. The culture and the landscape is different. People want Trump to enact real change, real policy changes. And not only financial, they want the border wall. They want mass deportations of illegal immigrants. They want the economy to be fixed, to stop the inflation, to stop the spending, stop the wars. That is what Trump represents. And people remember the good times. And I'm not saying necessarily that people woke up, but I do think that enough people were hurting that they decided to enact some form of change. And that change came through Donald Trump. And that's why so many Americans have a positive favorability to Trump. Now, it's not an overwhelming majority. It's plus 2%. But for a Republican in 2024, 2025, I think these are incredible numbers. If you look at Joe Biden's approval rating, we see it's in the gutter. I mean, he's almost negative 17 points. He's in the high 30s right now if he's lucky. And you look at the direction of the country, and you can see a lot of Americans are not happy with the way the country is going. So when Joe Biden took office, the country thought that it was going 21% in the right direction. He takes office, and you see a little bit of a rebound during COVID, where 42% of the population thinks we're on the right track, and then it steeply falls after the Afghanistan withdrawal to 30%. And then under Biden, during the summer of 2022, his approval crashed. The direction of the country, where people think the country's going, also crashed. And we see that it hasn't really recovered that much since. And it's hovered at around 22, 23%. And then after Trump's victory, it shot up a little bit. Not by much, but a few percentage points. So will we see a rebound? I'm not sure. It depends on Trump's approval rating when he gets in office and what exactly he is able to accomplish as he unravels his agenda during his first 100 days. But what I will say is Trump shouldn't make decisions based off of popularity. He should make decisions based off of what the right thing is for the country. And I think people understand that, not a majority, but I do think that a certain number of the electorate will stand with Trump no matter what. And you could see Trump's approval rating go into the negative. But if you compare it to past presidents, like if you look at Bush during his tenure, we see that in his first term, Bush was popular because of 9/11, and then his approval rating went down because of the war. It shot back up, and then it went down, and then in his second term it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then we got Obama, and in 2008 Obama was pretty popular. His approval rating was high in 2009, and then it went down in 2010, and it kind of hovered, and then during his election it went up to 53% during the 2012 election, and then his second term it went down even more, and most of it was spent in a negative approval rating. So could we see that with Donald Trump? It's really hard to tell. His first term was entirely negative. We can see here that Donald Trump's approval rating during his first term was very negative. However, we do see a unique factor here that we didn't see with other presidents, which is although his first term approval rating was negative, it did slightly go up each year. Not the negativity, but his approval rating. In 2017, he was at 40. In 2020, he was at 44.4. Call it 45 if you want to be generous. But even though it was a negative, his approval rating did climb up. So with Trump, I think you see an opposite reaction to how most people view politicians. You do see a honeymoon period typically when the president takes office, but then after that, the real approval rating comes in. You could see a scenario where Trump actually improves his popularity during his second term. Not that it matters because we had the ultimate poll, Trump won the election, but it will be interesting to watch what people think of him and how they react to his policies during his second term. I mean, in 2017, he was down in the high to mid 30s, and then during COVID, actually his approval rating shot up to 47%, crashed during the summer of 2020, and then it came back up just before the election. He got about 46% of the vote, and then his approval rating crashed because of January 6th and the election transition. So it'll be interesting to see if this popularity holds. I'm not sure if it will. It very much could, because Trump is a unique politician. He's always been a unique figure in American politics, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. So thank you all for listening and for watching my video. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps small channels like mine. Until next time, Politics Enhanced out.